Slurpty-derp, Nathaniel, how are you doing, sir? Today we are doing a little vital tutorial. Thank you guys for voting in the recent Synth Talk poll, where I think the results were pretty split between Vital and Serum being the top two most used synths of my subscribers. Phase Plant pulling up in third place, and then after that you've got the other, I don't know what it is, your Current or your Massive X or your Zebra, probably not the Zebra. Yeah. Anyway, interesting that as many of you guys still use Serum. Oh. Yeah, Serum's not my absolute favourite, but I might get some guest tutorials with Serum on the channel in the near future if I can arrange that. But yeah, I obviously finished my Phase Plant preset pack fairly recently, and thanks to all of you guys who already grabbed a copy of that, much appreciated. Catalyst, out now on my website. There's some little demos on the channel that you can check out the presets for that one. Anyway, we did a little group class last night, and I made some drums. We did a little group class on drums and designed a drum break from scratch, which was a lot of fun for me. And this was, last night. I just got back from Morocco very recently. I got back on Saturday, and yeah, it was a bit of a journey to get home because I sort of flew overnight, and it was just very, 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 very tiring. But I had a sick time in Marrakesh, Morocco, the 50th country I've ever been to, and I went there basically to record a load of samples and get some inspiration for music because I was kind of lacking inspiration. I got a really cheap deal to get out there, so I thought, why not? Let's go out there, have a bit of sunshine, record some sounds, and I made a sample pack for you guys for free, a Foley sample pack. All you have to do to get it is go over to my Patreon and you can join for free and download the sample pack for free. There's like 41 Foley sounds, some like street musicians, some like market sounds, like a bunch of weird horses and I don't know, random cool stuff, but there's definitely some wicked stuff in there. Feel free to use it in your own tracks. Anyway, yeah, today we're gonna make a little Vital bass and then do a bit of post-processing. And one more thing, just before we get into that, is this Friday we're doing our Zugzwang remix competition live stream on YouTube. So I'm going to do it at 5 p.m. CET. That's European time at 5 p.m. That's 4 p.m. if you're in the UK. If you're in another part of the world, just Google it. And that's going to be here on the channel, and I'm going to run through all of the remix contestants, and I haven't listened to any of the tracks, and then we're going to pick the best one. The winner is going to get an official release, and we'll do some runner-up posts on SoundCloud and YouTube as well. And yeah, so remember to come along and watch that. And if you're participating in the remix competition, make sure you send me the email of your track before Friday. So that's Thursday night at the latest this week to info@artifactmusic.com. Send your submission with your producer name and a link to your socials. And yeah, apart from that, we got another bit of music coming out on the label later this year. 22nd of December, I'm dropping another track, DNB, banger. More info on that soon, but yeah, that's gonna be the 22nd on the Friday, so the sort of week after the remix competition. Anyway, let's dive into what we've got today. I'm gonna play you the little loop, and then we'll talk about firstly the Vital design, and secondly the post-processing layering. So I've kept the bass really, really simple. It's just in one note. It's just in D. It's just got a bit of distortion and movement on it that makes it cool. And the drums this is the drums that we created together in the group class yesterday. But we won't talk about those today. We're going to talk about the Vital bass. So we'll dive in. First of all, I'm going to turn off all of the post-processing, and we're going to dive into, firstly, just the initial Vital patch with nothing else on it. And it's really simple, but sounds great. And it's just made up of 2 sine waves with a tiny bit of filtering, a bit of FM, a lot of distortion, and a couple of other effects. So let's run through just to give you guys an insight. The main thing that makes this sound great is having one sine wave at a very, very low octave, and another one an octave higher up, but this higher up one is going to be modulated on the level, so it's going to go from 0 to 100, and both of these together are going to run through an incredible amount of distortion. Okay, so we're going to use a bit of FM as well here on one of them, but if I just go back to sort of the beginning, so we've really got, we're just hard clipping that low sine wave, you know, up about 28 dB, so really a high amount of distortion on the sine wave. But the second one at -12 here, just going to put a little saw up rhythm on the level, so it's going to creep up. Okay, and that's going to go also, that's going into the distortion as well here. Okay, but when it gets a little bit more exciting is when we put the FM on. So we're going to FM from oscillator 1. So then you hear really at the end here, it's going to really get nice at the end. And you can actually change the pitch of this one. And doing this will get you some really wicked results. But the whole concept is you just have one low sine wave that's just sort of flat, and the second one is higher up, and we modulate the level of it, and all of that being rushed through a heavy amount of clipping distortion. And this second one as well here, it's FMing from the first one to blend it together a bit, and we've also got some unison on to give it some extra movement. Okay, so I really like the way that sort of moves. And yeah, we'll go on to the next part then. Essentially, I just put a little filter on the second one, so it's sort of just taking out a bit of the sort of sub area. So we've only really got one of the sine waves doing the sub part, and this second oscillator is just the mid-range and high end. Okay, so that's you know, it's quite a different result, to be honest. If you want to leave it off and go for something even nastier, you know, you could do that. But I quite liked having that more balanced sound, where that second oscillator is just providing the extra part of grit in the mids and the tops. Okay, so next we've got a bunch of other effects to add in. The first one is the reverb, and I've put this before the distortion, about 9%. Just taking up the low cut a bit here. So the reason why is because you've got this interesting tone whenever you release the note on the keyboard. Then you like the reverb, like tail pops out through the distortion. So you've got this like you hear it a bit better at the end of the sound. You've got this like sort of tonal reverb distortion after you release the note, which I really like. And we're going to cut that out in the audio later if it becomes a bit too much, okay? But it's cool to have it on there anyway, just for fun. Next, the compressor. We're going to use this to add a bit of high end with the attack all the way up and the release down a little bit. We really boost the high end a lot. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that on my modulation. So I've just got this one sort of ramping up LFO, and it's simply just going to be giving a little bit of brightness as the sound progresses. So it just comes up a little bit as we go along. And same kind of thing, we're going to put a bit of chorusing on, and that's going to open up a little bit over time here as well, just a little bit on the LFO. The chorus does obviously a lot to the sound. I love the chorus in Vital. I think that's my favourite part of Vital, is the chorus. And 16 voices. Played with the tempo to make it actually really slow. So 16/1. You can see the voices are moving around really slowly. And I've just tweaked the delay knobs to get a nice sort of matching of the chorus to the original sound. Start off high. Tweak things around till you kind of like where it sits. Then bring it back down again, you know. This one, even at 10 or 15%, just added a lot of width and warmth, and I really like that around there. And then I've got a little filter just to finish it off. And this is also just going to change the dynamic of the sound over time, because it's set to 0 at the beginning, and as the sound progresses, the filter comes on. and it just dips out some of the frequencies here and creates its little shape. But I'm not really adjusting the cutoff, it's just the actual amount of the filter that's just coming on, you know? So that's pretty much the preset there already. I haven't saved it yet, so I better go ahead and save it. I'll call it the Nathaniel. Okay. Thank you for watching, Nathaniel. Anyway, so what we've got then, you know, that's the vital patch done. So yeah, just to recap, you know, really just 2 sine waves, one of them with an interest with a higher pitch with the FM on, and a bit of unison, and just modulating the level on that from 0 to hero. Okay, and that's gonna, you know, together with the subby one through a massive amount of distortion, that's gonna create that unique shape to the sound. Okay, so that's where it all comes from. And then all the other things are embellishments, really, enhancements. Bit of reverb, bit of brightness adjustment on the LFO, bit of chorusing, opening the sound up, and a bit of filtering just for a little extra shaping towards the end. So Nathaniel's Wet Dream is great. I really like that preset on its own, but I wanted to go ahead and, yeah, like I said, bounce it out and do some layering to take it to the next level. So what I did was I bounced out the original sound first, and so that is just going to sound like this, obviously. And as you can see, I've cut out the little reverb tails now, you know, because they do have like a lot of mid-range in, and they were quite overwhelming in the composition. But I'm leaving those reverb tails in for the layers that we're going to add in on top, because I'm going to sort of EQ out the low end for those ones. But here we have just the sort of sound with the drums. I've put in a little cheeky sine wave vital preset in the gaps, so just to fill out the rest of the composition with a bit of call and response. And it's just a simple kind of sine wave bass that I've created in the past. But yeah, like I said, this first bass, all the MIDI is just in D, so it's not very interesting. But I'm trying to just do a demonstration on creating the bass and the timbre and the post-processing. So I was quite quick to just record in, you know, a simple one-note bass line here. And LFO tool, we're going to use this a lot for the side chaining. I've got a simple kick 2-step pattern, so I can easily just use my classic 2-step LFO kind of groove to the grid, and I can just adjust the amount I want of the side chaining. And I'm going to side chain all of the layers differently. So some of these extra layers, they've got reverb on, and I'm going to give a big side chain to those, so they're more impactful. So that's the first one anyway, without any just the main one. Okay, so this is the main bass, and now we're going to add in 2 layers on top, and they're both going to sit just in the high end. And the first one is going to be a distortion layer. So this one is with Ruiner, and all I'm going to do for this one is turn on my Ruiner, set the blend to 100%. So it's like the dry wet, so we're only having the distortion signal, and then just tweak the overdrive, the fold, the center, the saturate, until I've got a nice crunchy distortion tone. I like it because it sounds like a very digitally distortion, but it's like not too aggressive or like too bright. And I've also turned it down then as well. So we're bringing that down to layer it in the background to give a bit more depth to the bass. Turn on LFO as well, and I've got a nice big obvious side chain to fit with this one. And then taking out a lot of the low end up to like 1K, so really just this sort of high-end gritty distortion layer that's going to sit on top. Okay, so and I've left the reverb parts on, which is really important because it's giving this this extra little crunchy tail to the sound. But I like how it sort of sits in the mix, so I'm leaving those reverb parts on. So that's the first layer, and then the second layer we're going to add in we're going to do a very similar thing, but this time we're going to do convolution reverb, And so again, bounced out the main sound, and then all I've done is for this one, I've chosen a convolution, which is, this one is the small control room from the Kilohertz Convolver. I like that one a lot. Again, 100% mix. Then we're going to LFO tool that as well. So nice big sidechain on that one. And then again, taking out the low end, gone up to about 800 or 900 here. So blending that back in again. Again, adjusting the volume, turning that down a bit here. Now we've got a quite three-dimensional sound. We've got the main one doing its thing, and I've left the reverb tail in again on this bottom one down here. We've got our distortion layer, and we've got our convolution layer, and then we can go ahead and just process the whole. No, I just spelt that wrong, but I will. We can process the whole thing together. So just grouping these up into a bus here. We've got all of them at once. So all we can do is just apply a bit of mid-side EQing just to cut out any of that naughty stereo in the low end, a little bit here. 80 hertz or so. A bit of extra side chaining on everything, just mixed in, not 100%, but just a little bit more for the kick drum to really cut through. Okay, and now I wanted to make it a bit more brighter, the whole thing, because I felt like it, you know, I've made my drum group quite busy and quite full and quite loud, so I need to do a bit more work on the bass to get it to match the kind of level of the drums, you know. So what I've done here is I've been a bit cheeky and just boosted the high end on an EQ on the whole bass. Kind of gets it more in that ballpark mix down range to fit with the drums. Here again, even more sort of high end saturation with the decapitator, nice bright setting, driving that up a bit and just mixing in a bit of that signal. So nice bit of high end saturation. Again here, the SDRR, turning up the treble, so for an even more kind of high end boost with a bit of a analog color. Yeah, really like that plugin for giving a bit of extra brightness when I need it. And then we're just going to add in a bit more sort of content with a high-end reverb, just a few %. And finally, finish it up with a little extra LFO to also cut out a little bit of content for the snare transient. So just a little snare drum gap here. Okay, just a very tight one, don't really notice it, but helps the snare cut through a little bit. And then finishing off just a little bit of an extra side EQ, just taking out a little bit more of that low side information again. So there it feels like quite full and clean and complete, so I kind of like that. That's the sort of post-processing done. So that's basically it today. I hope you learned a couple of little tips on some post-processing ideas, and also some ideas on creating a nice, I don't want to say the word gnarly, but a gnarly sine wave aggression bass. And again, remember you can go a bit nuts with the second one here. You could think about perhaps pitching that around on an LFO as well. You know, as long as you've got the whole chain set up and the concept is there, the second oscillator, the pitch of it can be used to really to really give you completely different results for the kind of bass that you're after, you know. So yeah, that could be sick. And again, you could decide not to filter that one and get some even more guttural low end sounds if you want, you know. But I liked how Nathaniel just had his cheeky little wet dream, so I kind of like to leave that on, and yeah, you know, the rest is history, really, you know. But yeah, that's the tutorial today, my G's. I will do some more production live streams soon, but I think we'll do the next live stream official for the channel will be the Zugzwang remix competition live stream this Friday, where I will listen through all of your submissions. Super excited and looking forward to that. And yeah, that's about it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Share it with your nan. Get her involved, because you know, just because she's old doesn't mean she doesn't appreciate a good bit of neurofunk or dark D&B. So, you know, make sure you include her this Christmas with your neurofunk fantasies. All right, have a great rest of your day. Peace out.